The great chamber of the Galactic Council floated above a blue star, wide and cold, filled with seats made for many kinds of bodies. Some seats were tall and thin. Some were low and wide. Some glowed softly with light. The air was filled with quiet sounds from machines that translated thought into shared speech. This was the place where worlds were judged. A large screen showed the image of a small planet covered in clouds and water. Earth. Many council members watched with mild interest. Some looked bored. Others looked amused. One elder leaned forward and let out a slow laugh. He said that humans were dramatic. He said they told stories to make themselves look strong. He said their history was full of noise, not wisdom. Several others agreed. They had studied human records for years. Wars, speeches, songs, films. Too much emotion, they said. Too much pride. They believed real power was quiet and clean. Humans were loud and messy. Humans exaggerated. A soft tone sounded across the chamber. A single figure stood at the center platform. He was human. He wore simple dark clothing and carried no visible device or weapon. His name was Evan. He did not raise his voice. He did not smile. Evan spoke slowly, using basic words so every translator could follow. He said humans did not exaggerate. He said humans remembered pain. He said Earth did not want conflict. But Earth would not kneel. Some council members shifted in their seats. A few laughed again. One speaker answered him. The voice was calm but sharp. It said Earth was young. It said Earth had not faced a real galactic force. It said humans confused survival with strength. Evan listened. He did not interrupt. When the speaker finished, Evan nodded once. He said he understood why they thought that way. He said many humans once believed the same about others. He said that belief cost them greatly. The council asked what Earth would do if tested. Evan paused. He said Earth would respond. The council pressed for details. Evan gave none. He thanked them for their time and stepped back. The platform lowered, and the human envoy was gone. The chamber filled with quiet talk. Most agreed the human had been polite but weak. Some suggested Earth be reminded of its place. Not a full war, just a lesson. A vote was taken. A small fleet would approach the human system. No attack was planned, only presence. A show of power, enough to make Earth listen. The decision passed easily. Far away, on Earth, warning lights blinked to life in rooms buried under stone and steel. Old systems woke from long sleep, screens filled with calm data. No alarm sounded. No public message was sent. Mara stood in the main control room of a deep facility. She had short hair and steady eyes. She had trained for years for a moment she hoped would never come. She watched the data without fear. She had seen worse numbers during drills. Captain Holt stood beside her. He said nothing. He did not ask questions. He trusted the systems. He trusted the people who built them. Most of all, he trusted the silence. Above Earth, satellites shifted their paths. Some went dark. Others changed purpose. Signals that once flowed freely faded into nothing. To outside watchers, Earth looked suddenly blind and quiet. The incoming fleet noticed this change. They expected panic messages or threats. They received none. As the alien ships crossed the edge of the human system, their sensors reported strange gaps. Empty zones where data should exist. The commanders assumed it was human fear or poor technology. One scout ship moved ahead of the others. It was small and fast, designed to observe and return. It sent a brief update. Then it vanished. There was no flash, no heat wave, no debris field. It was simply gone. Confusion spread across the fleet. Commands were sent. Systems were checked. No weapon trace was found. Space remained calm and dark. On Earth, Mara watched a single line of text appear and then fade. She allowed herself one slow breath. Captain Holt gave a short nod. He ordered no celebration. He ordered no message. The alien fleet slowed. Their formation tightened. The show of power had changed shape. Back at the Galactic Council, delayed reports began to arrive. The tone was no longer amused. Earth remained silent, and in that silence, doubt was born. Space around the human system felt wrong to the approaching fleet. Sensors showed stars and planets, but the numbers did not line up as expected. Distances shifted by small amounts. Time readings lagged for no clear reason. The alien commanders blamed minor system faults, yet the feeling of unease spread from ship to ship. Commander Varric stood on the bridge of the lead vessel. He had faced many worlds that claimed strength. Most folded when pressure came. He expected Earth to do the same. Still, the silence disturbed him. Strong worlds usually spoke. Weak ones begged. Earth did neither. Reports continued to arrive about the missing scout ship. The data ended mid-signal, as if the ship had simply stepped out of reality. Varric ordered a probe launch. 10 small probes spread forward in a wide arc, each feeding constant data back to the fleet. For several minutes nothing happened. Then 3 probes vanished.
Not together. Not in a pattern.
One blinked out, then another far away, then a third closer to the fleet. The remaining probes continued to send data, but their readings became confused. Space density changed. Background noise increased. Varric ordered the fleet to halt. On Earth, deep under layers of stone, Mara watched the same moment from a different angle. Her screen showed calm lines and soft tones, no flashing lights, no warning sounds. The system worked as designed. It always did. She remembered the first time she had seen it tested years ago in secret. Even then, it had scared her. Captain Holt stood with his hands behind his back. He watched the data without emotion. He had learned long ago that fear wasted time. The enemy was not attacking yet. That mattered. A young officer nearby asked if they should send a message. Holt shook his head. He said not yet. Words came later. Above Earth, the fleet adjusted its position. The ships moved closer together, weapons warming but not firing. They still believed this was a display, not a battle. They wanted control, not destruction. One ship moved forward on its own. Its commander requested permission to scan Earth directly. Varric allowed it. The ship began a deep scan. Layers of data poured in. The surface of Earth looked normal. Cities, oceans, storms. But beneath that surface, the scan returned noise. Too much noise, as if something large and complex was hidden behind simple images. Then the scan failed. The ship did not vanish. It remained visible. But every system on board shut down at once. Power dropped. Life support flickered. The vessel drifted, blind and silent. Shock rippled through the fleet. Varric demanded answers. Engineers spoke at once. None could explain what had happened. No weapon strike was detected. No energy burst. No radiation spike. The ship was intact, yet helpless. On Earth, Mara marked the event and took another breath. She knew this was only the beginning. The systems Earth used were not fast. They were patient. They waited for mistakes. The alien fleet pulled back slightly. Formation tightened further. Defensive fields came online. Varric ordered full alert. The lesson was no longer about Earth. It was about survival. Far away in the Galactic Council chamber, the mood shifted. New reports arrived, clearer now. Words like anomaly and unknown effect replaced laughter. Some council members argued that the fleet should withdraw. Others insisted that retreat would show weakness. The council delayed its decision. Back near Earth, the disabled ship drifted slowly. No attempt was made to destroy it. No human message followed. The silence continued. Inside the dark ship, the crew waited. Fear filled the air. Their technology had always protected them. Now was useless. They felt exposed, like creatures without shells. Minutes passed. Then a faint signal reached them. It was simple. Not a threat. Not a demand, just a navigation path and a single instruction. Follow. Varek received the same signal. He hesitated. Every instinct warned him against it. Yet refusing meant staying in a place that no longer obeyed known rules. He chose the lesser fear. The fleet followed the path. The route led them away from Earth, not closer. Slowly, carefully, the human system guided them to a wide, empty region near the edge of the system. The strange sensor effects weakened there. Probes stabilized. Systems began to behave again. The disabled ship remained powerless. Varek demanded its release. The reply came at last. A calm human voice, translated cleanly. The voice said the ship would be returned soon. It said no harm had come to the crew. It said Earth wished to avoid loss of life. Varek felt anger rise. He asked why Earth attacked without warning. The voice replied that Earth had not attacked. It said Earth had defended itself. It said there was a difference. On Earth, Evan stood in a quiet room, watching a simple display. He had not spoken to the council yet. This message was not for them. It was for the fleet. He believed understanding began before words. Captain Holt entered the room. He asked if Evan thought this would work. Evan answered that it already had. Back in space, the alien fleet waited. Weapons remained charged, but no one fired. They had learned that firing first did not mean winning. The disabled ship suddenly came back to life.
Power returned slowly. Systems rebooted one by one.
The crew gasped in relief. The ship moved back toward the fleet. Varek watched it dock safely. His relief was mixed with fear. Earth could take control of their technology without touching it. That fact changed everything. A new message arrived from Earth. This one was longer. It invited the fleet to leave. No punishment would follow. No pursuit would occur. Varek asked what would happen if they refused. The reply was short. Then we continue. The fleet turned away from Earth. As the ships moved back toward open space, Varek looked once more at the small blue planet. He no longer saw a weak world shouting stories into the void. He saw a quiet force that waited, watched, and chose its moment. Back at the Galactic Council, emergency sessions were called. The human silence had spoken louder than any speech. And across the galaxy, the idea that humans exaggerated began to crack. The alien fleet did not travel far before it stopped again. The order came from High Command, far beyond the ships near Earth. The Council demanded answers. Retreat had avoided loss, but it had also raised fear. Fear spreads fast among rulers. Commander Varek received the new command in silence. He was told to hold position and wait. A second fleet was already on the move, larger and heavier. This one would not observe. It would test Earth directly. Varek felt no pride in the news. Only wait. He had seen enough to know that Earth was not bluffing. Still, orders were orders. On Earth, the arrival of the second fleet was detected long before it crossed the system edge. The data flowed into deep facilities across the planet. Analysts watched patterns form. There was no panic, no shouting. The people in those rooms had trained for years to stay calm when everything else failed. Mara studied the projected paths. She saw the difference at once. This fleet was armed for force, not show. She shared the data with Captain Holt. Holt nodded slowly. He said the lesson would need to be clearer this time. Evan listened as reports came in. He felt a quiet sadness. He had hoped the first warning would be enough. Humans had learned long ago that warnings were often ignored. As the second fleet entered the system, Earth did not hide. Some satellites came back online. Some signals returned, simple and open. The message was clear. Earth was aware. Earth was ready. The alien commanders interpreted this as weakness. They believed Earth had been frightened by the size of the new force. Confidence returned. The fleet advanced toward a human outpost near a red planet. The outpost was small, built for research and supply. It had no large weapons. It looked fragile. The first strike came without warning. Energy beams tore through empty space and struck the outpost. Structures shattered, debris spread wide. There was no reply. The alien fleet pressed forward. They declared the outpost destroyed. Cheers sounded across their bridges. On Earth, no one cheered. Mara watched the outpost feed go dark. She clenched her hands once, then released them. The outpost had been evacuated hours earlier. Every life had been moved. The structure was empty. Captain Holt gave the next order. Space shifted. Human ships appeared where nothing had been before. They did not jump in with light or sound. They simply became present, like thoughts forming in a quiet mind. They were small, dark, and many. The alien fleet reacted at once. Weapons fired in all directions. Defensive fields flared. The human ships did not rush. They moved with slow purpose, sliding between fire lines. When they struck systems, not hulls. Power grids failed. Weapon controls froze. Navigation collapsed. Alien commanders shouted orders. Confusion spread. Their fleet was built for overwhelming force, not careful defense. Against patient attackers, their strength became a weakness. Commander Varric watched from a distance as the battle unfolded. He recognized the pattern too late. Humans were not trying to win fast. They were trying to end the fight with minimum loss. One by one, alien ships went dark. The flagship tried to pull back. Its engines flared, then died. The vessel drifted, massive and helpless. Human ships surrounded it but did not fire. Inside the flagship, fear ruled. The commander, a being named Rock, stared at his failing systems. He had believed in numbers and firepower. Now both were useless. A message arrived, not a threat. Not a demand. Stand down. Roke hesitated. Pride screamed at him to resist. Survival whispered louder. He gave the order. Weapons powered down. On Earth, Evan closed his eyes for a moment. The worst part was over. Human boarding craft moved toward the flagship. They docked without resistance. Teams entered with calm focus. They carried no heavy weapons. Their armor was light. Rock expected cruelty. He had been taught that humans were violent and emotional. Instead, he was met with quiet control. The human leader spoke clearly. He said the fight was over. He said no more ships would be harmed if orders were followed. He said medical aid would be provided. Roke felt confusion deepen into something worse. Respect mixed with fear. Across the battlefield, disabled ships floated like sleeping giants. Human craft moved among them, restoring basic life support where needed. Commander Varric sent a message to the Council. He told them the truth. Earth could have destroyed the fleet. It had chosen not to. The Council chamber fell into heavy silence. On the flagship, Evan arrived. He stood before Roke, unarmed. He spoke without anger. He said humans once believed strength meant winning at any cost. He said that belief nearly ended them. Rock asked why Earth spared them. Evan answered simply. He said because survival was not victory. Understanding was. Outside, the stars burned quietly. The message of this battle spread faster than any fleet. Worlds listened. Stories changed, and for the first time, the galaxy began to fear not human weapons, but human restraint. The battle space grew quiet. No weapons fired. No engines roared. Broken ships drifted in slow paths, held by gravity and careful control. Human craft moved among them like silent workers, steady and precise. Inside the alien flagship, order returned slowly. Lights came back at low power. Air systems stabilized. Injured crew were treated by human medics who worked without fear or hatred. They spoke little. They focused on their tasks. Rock watched it all from the command platform. He had prepared himself for death or chains. He had not prepared for this calm mercy. It felt heavier than defeat.
Evan walked through the halls with 2 human officers.
They did not rush. They did not guard him closely. The alien crew watched in silence as he passed. Many lowered their eyes, not in anger, but in confusion. Rock finally spoke. He asked Evan why humans risked boarding instead of destroying the ship from afar. Evan answered that distance made killing easy. Being present made choices real. Humans had learned that lesson through pain. Rock asked if this mercy was weakness. Evan shook his head. He said mercy was control. He said only those who feared losing power needed to prove it through destruction. The words stayed with Rook. Far away, the Galactic Council remained in emergency session. Reports from the battlefield arrived piece by piece. Losses were confirmed, yet something else disturbed the Council more than numbers. Humans had won without rage, without celebration, without conquest. Several council members demanded immediate retaliation. Others argued that Earth must be approached carefully. The Alliance had never faced a power that chose restraint after victory. A message arrived from the captured flagship. It was live. Clear. Unedited. Rock spoke before the council. His voice carried no pride. He described the battle. He described how human ships had disabled, not destroyed. He described medics treating enemies. He described Evans standing unarmed on a conquered ship. He ended with a warning. He said Earth could not be ruled by fear. He said Earth responded only to choice. The council chamber fell silent. On Earth, Mara listened to the broadcast. She leaned back in her chair, exhausted. The system had worked, but cost still weighed on her. Even empty structures carried meaning. She thought of the outpost that no longer existed. Captain Holt entered the room. He told her the council would likely seek talks soon. Mara nodded. She said she hoped they listened this time. In space, human crews completed their work. Life support on alien ships was stable. Navigation was restored only enough for controlled movement. No weapons were returned. Evan prepared to leave the flagship. Rock stopped him. He asked what would happen next. Evan said that depended on the council. He said Earth would not chase fleeing ships. He said Earth would not forget this choice either. Roke asked what choice Earth had made. Evan replied that Earth chose to be seen. The human boarding teams withdrew. The flagship remained disabled but safe. Human ships pulled back to a wide distance. They waited. Hours passed. The council sent a signal. Not a threat. Not a demand. A request. They asked for talks. The message was received on Earth. It passed through many hands before reaching Evan. He read it once. Then he read it again. He felt no joy. Only resolve. Evan agreed with conditions. No fleets near Earth. No hidden weapons. Full transparency. The Council accepted. News of the agreement spread across many systems. Worlds that had watched in silence began to speak. Some expressed fear of humans. Others expressed relief. A few expressed admiration. Rock was allowed to return to his people. His ship was repaired enough to travel. Before leaving, he asked to speak with Evan once more. He asked how humans learned restraint. Evan answered that humans nearly destroyed their own world more than once. He said survival forced them to change. He said not all lessons came from victory. Rock bowed his head. It was a gesture rarely used among his kind. As the flagship departed, the stars seemed quieter. On Earth, cities continued their daily rhythm. Most people knew little of how close the galaxy had come to war. They lived, worked, argued, and dreamed as always. Mara left the facility and stepped into sunlight. She closed her eyes and breathed fresh air. The sky looked the same as it had before the fleets came. That, she thought, was the point. Far beyond Earth, the Council prepared for a meeting that would change history. Fear still lingered, but it was no longer mixed with laughter. Humans had not demanded knees to bend, yet across the galaxy, many had already begun to lower them. The meeting did not take place near Earth. That was the first condition humans set. The Council agreed at once. Fear made them careful. A neutral system was chosen, quiet and empty, with a single star and no worlds of value. One by one, Council vessels arrived. They came slowly, without escorts. Their weapons were powered down before entry. Human ships arrived last. They did not come in great numbers, only enough. Inside the Council chamber, Tension filled the air. Many leaders had spoken proudly before. Now they sat still. Screens showed images of Earth, small and distant yet heavy in thought. Evan stood once more at the center platform. He looked the same as before, calm, unarmed, patient. The council leader spoke first. The voice lacked its former sharpness. It admitted error. It said the Alliance had believed humans exaggerated their stories. It said the Alliance was wrong. Evan listened without reaction. The leader continued. It said the galaxy feared humans now. It asked what Earth wanted. The chamber held its breath. Evan answered simply. He said Earth wanted peace. He said Earth wanted respect, not rule. He said humans did not seek to command the galaxy. Murmurs spread across the chamber. Some did not believe him. Evan raised a hand. He said humans understood doubt. He said doubt was healthy. He said actions mattered more than words. He reminded them that Earth could have destroyed fleets. It did not. He reminded them that Earth returned ships and crews. It did. The council asked what would happen if Earth was threatened again. Evan replied that humans would respond again. He said the response would be chosen carefully. He did not promise mercy a second time. Silence followed. Brock stood and spoke. He was no longer in command, but his voice carried weight. He told the council what defeat felt like. He told them what mercy felt like. He said mercy was harder to face. One by one, other voices joined. Some admitted fear. Some admitted shame. None laughed. The council leader lowered its head. It asked for terms. Evan said there would be no kneeling. He said symbols of submission created resentment. He said Earth wanted understanding instead. The council agreed to new rules. No fleets would enter the human system without invitation. No weapons would be aimed at Earth. In return, Earth would share limited knowledge, enough to prevent fear, not enough to threaten balance. The agreement was recorded. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. Worlds reacted in different ways. Some celebrated, some prepared defenses. Some reached out quietly to Earth, hoping to learn. On Earth, life continued. People argued about small things. They watched skies without knowing how close history had turned. Children laughed. Storms passed. Crops grew. Mara watched the signing from a quiet room. She felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Not relief, just space to breathe. Captain Holt retired weeks later. He said his work was done. He trusted the next generation to remember the lesson. Evan returned to Earth and stood under an open sky. He looked at the stars. He did not feel pride. He felt responsibility. Far away, council records were updated. Human files were rewritten. Old notes calling humans loud and weak were removed. New words replaced them. Patient, enduring, dangerous when ignored. Trade routes shifted. Military plans changed. Stories told to young minds took new shapes. No empire rose from Earth. Yet something else did. A line. Across the galaxy, that line was understood. Cross it, and the quiet world would answer. They had claimed humans exaggerated. The galaxy would never make that mistake again.